So welcome. Thank you everybody for joining us this afternoon. My name is Mike Keener. I'm the AVC over supply chain management, and I am happy to be our host for our monthly demonstration meetings that we are doing for Aggie Enterprise. This is actually our 8th demo that we have been doing for campus, showcasing all aspects of the procure to pay features of the new Oracle system. We are getting right near the end here. So I know in the last session, last month, and in this session, we've done some stuff a little bit differently. Last month, taking a look at some of our cutover plans and timelines. This month, our agenda is a little bit less about the actual Oracle functionality, and we have sort of a hodgepodge of various things. So today we're going to be covering the emergency purchasing process that we're going to have in place during the cutover window when we get into December, before Oracle goes live and when Kuali sunsets. We're going to take a look at our Aggie expense allocation tool. So how people are going to use the new common chart of accounts within the Concur platform within Aggie expense. We'll take a look at the storehouse purchasing processes. So how people will buy from the catalogs for the storehouse. We'll dive into a little bit about the mail and billing codes. These are some of the peripheral areas that supply chain touches that are being impacted by the new Oracle system. So I would share that with you. And then we'll close out with some updates on the training and the website that are coming, and also talk a little bit about how we're going to be transitioning these demo sessions into a little bit more interactive office hour format in the next couple months. Some sort of busy housekeeping stuff. So I wanted to remind everybody that we are recording this session. You should have got the prompt up there. We do post these at the end of the sessions on our website. They'll actually be moving, I think now they have already moved to the Aggie Enterprise website. So you can go back and you can review previous sessions and take a look at anything you might have missed. There's no need to take any notes. This is really just us trying to share and socialize the information with all of you. It is not meant to be formal training. Our goal had been over the last 8 months to get as many of you to come back over and over again, because we keep showing different things. I think we've been pretty successful with that. So we're very appreciative of those who have come back every month. I wanted to remind everybody, although we'll take a little peek at it with Aggie expense, supply chain does not oversee or have any authority over the common chart of accounts or the financial side of the house. So if you have questions about chart of accounts, you have to direct that to the finance work stream. It isn't us, unfortunately. Please go easy on everybody who's presenting today. We're all on the same team. We're all a UC Davis team here, trying to make this the best solution possible for our campus and our health system. So remember to put your Aggie hat on for today's meeting. And I think that's about it. We normally do a survey at the end of the session, which I'll let Jim speak to when he talks about the training and the websites at the end here. In the past, we've been asking for topics for the subsequent sessions, but I think this time we're just looking for a little bit of a closeout information from all the participants around how things are looking for you. Put any questions you have in chat. We try to have everyone on mute while the presenters are walking through their piece, but usually at the end of each piece, people can come off mute and speak up if you have further questions. But we try to do pretty quick interactive responses in chat. And if we miss anything, let us know at the end with our survey. So with that, I'm going to hand the baton over to Mr. Morgan to talk through the emergency purchasing process. And again, thanks everybody for being here.
Thanks, Mike. My name is Mike Morgan. If you don't know me, I'm the Director of Procurement. So today I just wanted to show and discuss what we're planning for the cutover period. So the last day we know for requisitions to be created in KFS will be November 22nd. So what are we going to do if something comes up between November 22nd and us having access to Aggie Enterprise? So hopefully you all can see my screen. First thing that we're gonna ask the campus to do is if you need to make a purchase during that period, reach out to your supplier and have a conversation. Do they take a credit card? If they take a credit card, then you'll go to the bank card program webpage, Vartan's group, to discuss what you're trying to purchase. If it's goods and you need the limit increase because it's over your limit, that's where you'd have that conversation. They can either increase it or say, no, you should really go through the emergency purchase order process. If it is something that go on the card, they'll increase the limit. Or if it's a service, we have insurance on file. They'll review those case by case and provide you guidance. So from there, if you cannot use a card, we have an online form. It basically will mimic what we have in KFS for requisitions. So the first question here is, can you use a P card? Yes or no? If it's no, then we need the basic information to create that requisition. We need the requester's name, the department, the email, the phone number. What type of request is this? Is it business and revenue contracts, controlled substances, any one of these? We ask for a description of the goods, quantity of goods, or specific scope of work if it is a service. The cost, obviously that's just an estimate. Date needed, delivery address. This is all the common information that you would currently find in a KFS requisition. And at the very end, we ask for a justification. What's the rationale for this being an emergency purchase? We obviously all know what the definition of an emergency is on our campus. We're expanding that during this period to include program continuity. So if it's something that doesn't fall into the traditional emergency definition that we use, but it is going to affect your program during this period, that's obviously something that we want to address and make sure that you have a purchase order or that you can make your purchase for goods or services during that period. Once this is submitted, it will go to myself, Stephen, and all of the procurement leads, where they will review all of the information. If everything is complete and they have enough information, the core buyers, central buyers, will have access during that time period to create requisitions. So they will create the requisition, then they will reach out to the fiscal officer that you identified to tell that fiscal officer there's a requisition in the queue, please go in, review, and approve it. Once that it's approved, it goes through the proper, normal, everyday channels. If from there, it'll go to the control desk. The control desk will approve it. It will go to a buyer. The buyer will then work on that and issue that purchase for you during that time period. Keep in mind that anything that we do during this time period is going to generate a purchase order. We're most likely going to have to recreate these when we move into Aggie Enterprise the following month and a half, January of 2024. So we may have to recreate these things depending on which system we're putting them in during that cutover period. Are there any questions so far just on this process? It should be pretty straightforward. It'll have an online form. Rolita, go ahead.
Yeah, Mike, so can we request a one-time request for all our cardholders to increase the dollar amount at the same time, lift the restrictions for those unallowed purchases that's normally, for purchases that's normally unallowed using the P card? Because I remember that was mentioned during our meeting with Stephen that we can request the card member department to give them the list of those card holders, lift the restrictions, and increase the dollar amount all at the same time. Is that true?
Vartan can probably speak to this better. He owns the P card program. But one thing that I could say is if you want to do that for your department, you definitely want to have a conversation with Vartan and his group.
Okay.
They're the ones who are going to make that determination. One thing that I would say in your statement is probably not all the MCC codes, right? We want to still do our due diligence
Of course.
for on-site services. We want to make sure that the suppliers have current insurance, we're additionally insured. Then at that point, I think things can get a little more lax. But Vartan, is there anything that you want to add to that?
Yeah, I apologize to the chat. Thanks, Mike Keener, for catching that. Yes, if you have any questions, just email cardprogramhelp@ucdavis.edu, not .com. Yeah, no, Mike, you're spot on. We're very hesitant to just throw a blanket approval on all card purchases for any card, right? So, Erlita, please absolutely just email me directly. You can just email me directly if you like. And we could discuss the specific parameters for the cards in your group.
Right. I mean, sorry, if I'm not clear on that question, but I think we're talking about only during this cutover period. Because definitely, you know, especially my units, core facilities will encounter some potential emergency repairs during this cutover period. However, we are also implementing our own internal process to let our staff know that, hey, even if the restrictions are lifted during this cutover period, you cannot just use your P card at your at your own discretion. We will still implement our own internal process to seek approval, if that is indeed considered as an emergency, like what Mike is saying. But nonetheless, I will go ahead and contact you in a separate email, Vartan, to get some clarification, because we're getting close to that cutover period, and still, I'm not sure, is the PO form already live in your website to access? Not yet.
Well, we're not going to take action on anything right now.
Correct. Yes. Okay. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, once you submit that, it's going to go into a group email list where all of the leads can take a look at it and say, okay, this one is, for example, life science. So it would go to Erin in her group, and then they would
Gotcha.
work on that.
Okay.
Yeah, but I do, yes, please email me directly. I'm happy to set up a meeting. We could talk about specifics, and we're happy to do that with any of the departments, and specific needs that or concerns that you have during the cutover. And we are really going to try our hardest to open up the card to as much as possible to help alleviate purchasing during this time period, if those are specific concerns that you have. So, yeah, just reach out to me directly.
Will do. Thank you.
You're welcome. Looks like there's hands raised, several hands.
Auntie?
Yeah. Hi, Mike. So, so for the NPA requisition, so how do we deal with that?
The NPA requisitions?
Yeah. So, are we able to also issue purchase order at that time? I mean, for emergency, of course.
Yeah, for emergency, you're going to use that form. So it's all going to depend on what you're trying to do. On an NPA during that period. Construction contract.
Yes.
So from DCM.
Yes.
I'm just looking at the schedule right now, Mike. 12/14 is the last day to be able to create an NPA requisition in Kuali.
So
12/14.
Right.
So if we have the emergency, do we have a way to handle that?
Well, it'll still come through on the form.
Okay, so we still have.
And we will still yes. The entire request process for any emergency activity during that time period will go through that form.
Okay.
That's the only way that we're going to be able to receive requests from the campus, because you will not have access to enter in information into Kuali. There's only going to be a limited amount of people that have that access. So it'll be the same thing. You're just filling out this, and here you can describe what is it you're trying to achieve. Give enough detail that when it does come over, we can take a look at it and say, oh, okay, this is an NPA. It's for X, Y, and Z, and we can take action on it.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Mike.
So my question was, so it sounds like there's 3 possible routes we can take, which is if it's something that we can use our purchasing card on now, we can just proceed as is without getting approval if it's under 5K, if it's non-restricted. Then if it's a restricted service, then we can go to the card program help and get their approval. And then potentially if they don't approve it, then we would go through this emergency process. Is that right?
Yes, I would say the first part is, if you have a card in your possession, then you follow whatever your rules for your department is set up.
Okay.
But everything beyond that would be correct. You're just escalating to see which is the easiest path. Obviously, if we can use a card, that's going to be the path of least resistance. But like I said, we just want to make sure that we've done our due diligence. If it's services, we make sure that insurance is on file. If we dot all those I's and cross all of those T's, then at that point, realistically, the card is for payment purpose. And we can expand that if we need to, dollar-wise, or open up MCC codes, if that makes sense. But if it doesn't, then we will go through this form process.
So is there any specific criteria that would be so risky that we should avoid the credit card process and just go straight to the emergency? Like if it's beyond a certain dollar amount, if it's like an on-campus service, or
I would like to say, services, no, but we're going to be in a spot that we haven't been in before. So we're going to take those case by case, and we'll assess that risk at that time. If it is just as risky for a PO or a credit card, we're going to take the path of least resistance.
Okay.
Obviously, like I said, we're just trying to eliminate risk. And one of those avenues should satisfy the request, will satisfy the request, I should say.
Okay, so my follow-up question, and last one I promise, is if this is a true emergency, meaning that we need to get this done like today or tomorrow because research integrity, animal life, or potentially human safety, what's the possible turnaround time for, asking the card program help versus going through the emergency process directly, or for those really high stakes, high emergencies, is there a person we should be contacting directly to help facilitate the whole process?
Yeah, if you have a true emergency, the building's going to collapse, the animals are going to perish, students or faculty or staff, they're in jeopardy of something, call me directly. Okay. And we'll have a conversation about that. And I would say that applies to not only during this cutover period, that applies to everyday life on the UC Davis campus. If anybody is facing that type of an emergency, pick up the phone, call any one of the supply chain leaders. If you can't get a hold of me, for example, any one of them, and we'll be able to start having that conversation, or at least getting to the appropriate people. But when it is a true emergency like that, yes, reach out to me directly.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I just want to add as well. Again, just I'm try to address concerns as best as we can. Yes, there potentially is going to be an influx of requests coming in. We cannot anticipate the workload during the cutover period. When things are considered emergency requests or need to open up the card, and yes, please email us, but you can always email me directly as well, specific to the card. If something needs to get done, Jennifer Thompson, myself, one or two other analysts will be working during the cutover period. So, first in, first out, but, I don't anticipate any sort of lengthy time for us to address these requests. And if you believe it's been sitting in a queue and you need immediate attention, email me or call me directly as well.
Okay, I have 2 more short things to add, and then I'll turn it back over. Can you all see my screen, Aggie Enterprise? Eddie, give me a thumbs up. Thank you. So one thing that you've been hearing that we have now changed direction on, or at least paused, was the auto dispatch of purchase orders. The system data will not allow us to roll that out initially. So we'll save that for a later date. So as we roll out Aggie Enterprise, the system will not be auto distributing purchase orders at all. It will be just like in KFS. So if you have a purchase order that did not make it to procurement, we call them APOs now, a low value purchase order, you will have to go into the system like you do now and print it or save it to PDF and send it to your contact at the supplier's. You'll have to send it to the supplier's contact, whether that be the rep or an email address. And just so that everybody is aware on how to do that, all you need to do is go in, find your purchase order, which you'd have the requisition. I'll just pull up any one. And it's just view PDF once it's open. And now you can download that. You can see it doesn't have a buyer in there because it was system generated. It wasn't a restricted purchasing category, and it was under the $10,000. And then it'll have all the information, and you can just send that to the supplier as you do today. The other thing that I wanted to mention was there's been a lot of chatter and maybe some confusion on converted agreements and converted POs. So all POs and agreements that are active will be converted into Oracle. Once we have to touch those, amend them or add money or do anything to them, at that point, we will have to recreate them in Aggie Enterprise. The way, as some of you know who have been involved in testing, change orders require you to go through the requisition. These converted purchase orders and agreements, well, the purchase orders specifically, they don't have a requisition. So there is no way to make a change to a converted PO. So just keep that in mind, that when you'll still be able to use them. They will get converted, they will be open, but if you have to amend it, to extend it, add monies, any of that stuff, at that point, we're just going to have to recreate that. And it's going to be a little time period there where we're trying to get rid of the converted documents because that reason alone, we can't modify them, and move into the new documents that then will allow us to amend through that requisition change order process. Any questions on that? Okay.
All right. Good conversation there. I always appreciate when one of my team members is talking and I'm typing and we say the same stuff. So that was refreshing. Let's change gears at this point and take a look at how the Aggie expense system is going to do some of the allocations. Mary, you all squared away?
Yep, I'm ready to go.
All right.
Hi, everybody.
Mary's
I'm
gonna take
Mary
it.
Jackson. Yep, I am our AP and Travel Solutions Product Manager, SEM. So I will share my screen and get started here. Okay, so for Aggie expense, the main thing that's changing is the allocation. So all the fields, when you're going to allocate, are going to be different to allow for all the new segments of the new common chart of accounts. So I've already started a report here. So everything will be the same other than the allocation. So you'll go in, start your report as you normally do today, add your expenses. And then when we go into allocate, I'll show you those fields. So I'll click here, click on allocate. Oh, okay. Well, it shouldn't do that. Let's start over. Maybe
That didn't take long.
Oh, yep, kicked me out. Okay, hold on, sorry. Let's start over. Okay. All right, here we go. Okay, let's start again. Here we go. Okay. So we'll try this again. Click allocate. Okay, so the screen again will look the same, except when you hit add, this is when you'll see all the new fields. So the first one you'll choose is if you're going to do, this is where you're going to tell the system if you're doing a GL chart string or a PPM if you have a project. So I'll click here and choose. So this is my most recent use like we have today. So if I scroll down, your two options will be GL/financial department or PPM/project. So I'll start with the GL financial department. So I'll click this one. And then I'll need to add my financial department or project here. So if I did the GL, I'm going to put my financial department in this field. And then again, so my most recently used does come up, just like we do today. If you want to choose a different one, then you'll have all of the available financial departments listed here. Or you can type in your financial department and it'll populate down here. So I'm just going to choose one of these. And then, so another change is the approver. So in KFS, we have our main fiscal officer and then delegates. With Oracle, you have multiple approvers for financial department. They're all the same level. And so in here, you will have to actually select your approver since they're at the same level. So this financial department has two approvers that came directly from Oracle. So I'll choose which one should be approving my report. So I'll say maybe Shannon is my supervisor and that who should be approving it. Okay, so you see those three fields are always required, whether you choose GL or PPM. We do have some conditional fields that you're not going to see the red asterisk on, but you will get an error message if you don't fill them out. So when you choose GL, you'll have to enter the entity. So then you have all recently used, I've used all these. We also have all of them listed here. So I will choose UC Davis campus. And then your fund will be required. And again, recently used, and then all of the valid funds will be here listed here. So
Mary, before you move on, let's go back up to that approver selection because there was a question in chat about the approver.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So is that that is the financial department approver, right?
Yes.
Within the Oracle chart string. So it is not our traditional department approver under the travel umbrella, nor is it necessarily the fiscal officer that you're used to in Kuali. It's actually a new common chart of accounts element called the financial department approver, financial approver, something like that.
Yeah. So it will replace the approval review in Aggie expense when it goes to the fiscal officer. So it'll go to the financial department approver for review. Okay. And then purpose will be required as well. And again, most recently used will be first, and then all of the valid and available purposes will be listed here. I'll choose 43. And then those are the only fields required for GL, to use a GL. You can, though, enter more if you have them, if you need to use them. So I'll click save on that one. And then you'll kind of see more information here, the names of them, and then the full code over here. And then I'm going to hit save. And then it's allocated. Again, you can see it here. You click on that. Okay. And then I'll allocate the next one to a PPM. So click on that. Okay, so I'll hit add again. So if I have a PPM project to use, I will choose PPM/project. So now the list will show me all the projects, all valid projects and their tasks. So again, it'll show me recently used. So these are kind of the recently used strings that I've used, options that I've chosen. So here we'll have all the valid projects. So I'll choose this one. And then for the projects, you'll have one approver, which is a project manager approver is only one in Oracle. So I'll choose that one person, it'll route to them for approval. And then when you choose the PPM project, the only other field required is the expenditure org. You'll want to leave the rest blank. And I'll choose the correct expenditure org for that and hit save. Okay. And again, will show me all the information here about that. And then I'll hit save. And that's it. And so when I submit this report, it will route to that financial department approver on this line and then the PPM project manager for this line. So do you have any questions out there? I'm not seeing.
There's a question in the chat about expenses for GL and for PPM. We have the ability to address that.
Can you give examples of expenses that would be for GL and for PPM?
Celeste, is your question how to record a PPM project, or are you looking for an expense type that might be applicable for both? Because any expense type could be used in both.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure because I'm a new hire and I just got used to Aggie expense. So when our reports come in, I want to be able to know which one to use. So like I see you have conference registration as the GL, and so would that also mean it could be for PPM? And what would be the difference for it to be that, or to classify?
It could be either one, and I think that would just come directly from the department.
The
It would
allocations aren't
depend on
dependent
what
upon the expense type. There's no restriction there.
Okay, thank you.
Olga was asking if you could show the allocation for the second expense again.
Oh, sure. Want me to, here, I'll go back and edit it so you can see.
And then while you have that up, there was a question about the favorites. Are we able to leverage the favorite allocations?
Yeah, so the favorites are still the same as they are today. So you can add favorites and then add them as you normally do.
Pull them down in one shot.
Yeah.
Great. Kate, you want to go ahead?
So Mary, is this the major change with Aggie expense for Aggie Enterprise is the allocations?
Yes, this is the only change. And the routing is a little different too.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
or how you choose your approver.
When on that October 2nd go live for the hands-on, will we be able to see this at that time or no?
No.
Okay.
This one, we don't, and Mary, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't believe we have any public facing testing environment for the Oracle platform, excuse me, the Concur platform. So this will be unit tested by the team throughout the end of December, early January. And then when it is turned on, it'll just be out there and ready for everybody.
Will there be any kind of like, what do you call it? Like a workflow paper or what have you got? Like a job aid that we can give to our people, because we have a lot of people in our department doing their own expense reports. And this will be, you know, the one big change that we'll have to get out to them.
Great idea. I don't know if we had that on the roadmap. Crystal, have we got something identified for that one?
I think we did just get something out, right, Crystal? Didn't Jim put something on the website? Yes.
You're talking about regarding Aggie expense?
Yes.
Yes.
About how to do the allocation. Yeah, Jim just put something out there. Maybe we could
Let me track that down.
Yeah.
But if we don't, I think that's a great idea, and we've got plenty of runway to get something ready.
That'd be great. Thank you.
So real quick, my understanding is any reports that are not submitted and approved by, I believe it was December 15th, will have to be recreated after January 15th when the Aggie Enterprise is live again, right? It goes down for that full month between mid-December to mid-January.
Yes. So December 15th, after December 15th, you won't be able to submit a report any longer. They will be able to be approved until the 18th. And then so if it's not in by the 15th or approved, it will have to be redone
Okay.
and they're submitted, yeah.
Any pending P card expenses, they're not gonna get impacted, like if it gets imported on, let's say, December 14th and we can't clear it in time, and when the system goes back live on, in January, is the P card expense gonna be okay, or is there any potential programming issues we have to keep in mind?
No, so all the travel card and P card expenses will continue to flow through, and they'll just be in your available expenses. When we turn it back on, you'll see them there.
Perfect, thank you.
Mary, there's a question about the delegates. I'm assuming the answer is no, but it says if we choose one approver, does that mean the other delegates won't have access to approve the report?
Correct. So it's whoever you chose here, it's only going to route to Ashley. If it was a GL, it'll only route to the person that you selected here. Yeah.
And then to make sure I didn't misspeak, there was a previous question about the department approver, not fiscal, but the department approver. That all stays the same, correct? That's not changing.
Correct.
Okay. And that occurs, I believe, after financial approval. So,
right.
Kat, your question is actually backwards. It's the financial approver first, then the department is what happens. And that's how it is today.
Yeah. Yep.
So just to confirm, then if both the department approver and the fiscal approval have delegates in Aggie Enterprise, if both people are out, a delegate could go for each of those steps and approve it on the behalf of the person who was selected?
Correct. So the delegates will still work the same in Aggie expense. So you have to go in, add somebody as a delegate, give them the can approve permission.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Chat's quieted down. Thank you, Mary.
Yeah.
Why don't we hand it over to Chris at our storehouse? If you're up and ready, Chris.
Yeah, so Chris and I are going to kind of tag team this one, Mike.
Beautiful.
So my name is Jen Carmichael, and I'm the director for distribution and logistics within supply chain. And Chris, you want to do a quick intro?
Sure, the same. Thanks, Jen. My name is Chris Honan, same supply chain management. I operate our campus stores, our scientific chemistry, and our MRO store.
Yeah. So we wanted to talk with you guys a little bit about specifically stores purchasing. So we have 6 on-campus stores located in various locations. The MRO store over in the facilities yard, scientific store, which is at 650 LaRue, central store, which you guys might have worked with quite a bit during the COVID pandemic. We also have a chemistry store, mail services store, the list goes on and on. So I know you guys have been looking at a lot of information regarding how to do requisitioning in Oracle. And we're going to touch a little bit on how to do that specifically for the stores. So the stores will continue to be both an in-store shopping experience as well as have a presence online on the Aggie Enterprise Marketplace. Like UCD Buy, our stores are going to have a bit of a cutover period. So our cutover period for online orders is going to align with the December 8th Aggie Buy cutover period. Now, for those of you guys shopping the stores, that's probably not going to affect you if you're shopping stores like MRO or chemistry. However, it will affect the folks shopping central storehouse and primarily procuring compressed gas cylinders as well as tax-free alcohol. So December 8th is the last day to have Aggie Buy orders approved. So what we're planning to do is we are going to develop a form, and the form, I'll just share our marketplace here. The form is actually going to exist. Let's see here. All right, sorry, folks. I am actually at the university on campus too, by the way, and still froze up. So I shut my camera off. So we'll see how this works. The form is actually going to exist on our Aggie Logistics page, and we are going to modify our special order form. And what that's going to allow you to do is to utilize the commodity codes that you're ordering. And like I said, this is primarily going to be for Central Storehouse, because that is most of the online ordering that happens for our campus for primarily compressed gases and tax-free alcohol. So you will be able to, the form has not been updated yet. We're in process of that now, but you'll be able to click there and enter the current part number that you use to order today, and we will process your order just like we would if it had routed through Aggie Buy. So this is our stopgap between that December 8th freeze and go live in Aggie Enterprise for procurement. So we'll have some more information out about that, and that'll be coming. And then in regards to go live in Aggie Enterprise, I'll go ahead and pull up the requisitioning module. So very similar to the way it works in Aggie Buy today, our catalogs for the SCM stores will have a presence on Aggie Enterprise. So you're literally going to go in here to the purchase requisitions under procurement. And once you do that, it will open this page. And there is an icon here called Stores Catalogs. You can click on that and it will take you to all of our various stores. So, and this is primarily for folks that want to shop online, and you can either choose to will call or you can choose delivery out of here. When you do shop one of these stores, it will send your order straight to the store for fulfillment. It does route just like a normal requisition. And so it pretty much is transparent, the whole procurement process, other than who is going to fulfill your order. So that's just a little bit about how the stores is going to work online. The in-store shopping experience, once we move into the Oracle environment, is going to be pretty much the same as you guys experience today. So not too many changes there. Chris, did you have anything to add on this stuff?
No, I think the only other confirmation is, I know on one of the last calls, the question was asked specific to the scientific storeroom. The scientific store will close normally at the end of the year on December 27th and 28th. The storeroom will remain closed. So that's all I wanted to add.
All right. Any questions out there specifically targeted for the stores?
Seems all quiet.
All right.
You want to dovetail right into mail?
Yeah. So I'm going to turn my camera back on because I'm not sharing. So hopefully I won't freeze up here. So mail services, for those of you folks that work and dispatch mail via our mail services department, and this is primarily for your outgoing mail. So today's environment, you guys will address a piece of mail. You will indicate your KFS billing ID on the piece, whether it's in the upper left-hand corner of your envelope or your package. And then the piece comes to mail services. We apply the postage and we dispatch it through the U.S. Postal Service. So today, that entire process pivots on that 4-digit billing ID. Tomorrow, as we move out of KFS, of course, the billing ID concept is no more. So we have a little challenge here in mail, and part of it is that Oracle string is so very long that we actually can't really turn it into a barcode. It would be longer than your envelope if it was a linear barcode. And so what we've come up with in mail, and we're hoping that this will help ease the transition for the campus, is that we are actually going to map your existing billing IDs to your Oracle charts. So today, a billing ID ties out to a KFS account. And there is a roadmap to translate your KFS account to an Oracle string, chart of account string. And so Mail Services is going to basically keep your existing structure that you have and map it to your Oracle chart. So what that means is that you will not need to change all of your stationery. Some people have 6 months worth of printed envelopes with billing IDs pre-printed on the upper left-hand corner. And so now the whole concept of billing ID, however, is going away. So we are going to be renaming your the billing ID for mail purposes to a mailing ID. So it will be an outgoing code that basically translates into your Oracle chart of accounts. And the reason we're staying with that 4-digit is, one, the Oracle chart is so long, it would be very difficult for people to write that on outgoing mail pieces. And two, our folks have to 10 key that number in. So mailing software is very proprietary. There's not a ton of it out there, and we actually do 10 key in that number. So 4 digits is plenty for us to fat finger. We're typically pretty good. Our folks are pretty fast, but if we get upwards of 42 digits, not so much. So, so that is the plan. There will be a form as well, and there will be a database on Aggie Logistics for you guys to look at that crosswalk. So this is one thing that you don't really have to worry about during the initial days of transition, because it's going to pretty much move seamlessly over into Aggie Enterprise or into Oracle. So however, we will start working on getting the database up on our central logistics web portal, Aggie Logistics. And that way you guys can actually look at where your billing ID is going to be mapped. We might even throw in the KFS account that it's mapped to today. And it's the crosswalk that exists today. We're not deviating in any way from what our chart of accounts and finance team is doing to map the KFS accounts. So yeah, so that one hopefully won't be quite as much of a culture shock for folks, and it won't result in people needing to dump all their stationery. All right, Shelley, let's see. So the 4-digit code, that one comes from, so Shelley, did you apply for a 4-digit billing code in KFS? So Shelley's question is that she recently wanted to order envelopes, and the 4-digit code was not an option, only the traditional 7-digit code. So in today's world, the way that you guys get billing IDs is you go into KFS and request one, you create one, and it routes for approval. So the billing ID is actually procured by your department within Koale Financial right now. So Shelley, I can help you on that one if you need. No worries, no audio. If you reach out to me directly, I can help you with that one, help you get that set up. Now in tomorrow's world, because billing ID is no longer a function of the financial system, you'll apply to Mail Services with your Oracle chart, and we'll issue the 4-digit number to you. So that'll be how it looks. We will be reaching out with more information about this to folks as well. And so there'll be a lot more to come, but hopefully this is one less worry for you guys as we transition. Any questions out there? All right.
Looking
Thank
good.
you.
All right. Thank you very much, Jen, Chris. I think that's the bulk of the modules and functionality. So we'll hand it over to Jim on our communications and training team to talk through some of the website transitions that are happening and the training rollout.
Actually, I'm gonna step in for Jim. He's having a little technical difficulties too. There must be something in the air
Alright.
today.
Please meet the new Jim, known as Crystal.
I'm Crystal O'Hara. I'm the client relationship manager here at Supply Chain Management. I'm the person who spams you on a regular basis. And one of my areas is training. So I'm gonna, and website communication. So I'm gonna show you, I'm going to share my screen here. I'm not sure how many of you have been to the new Aggie Enterprise website. If you can see that there, this is the new website, and it holds all of the different work streams: finance, planning, project portfolio management, and supply chain. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what you can find on the supply chain website. In the past, over the past couple of months, maybe more like a year, Jim has been really good about keeping information on our own supply chain management website as it became available on Aggie Enterprise, but we're really trying to transition things over to this website so that everything will be all in one place. So this is the supply chain module. And all the pages are laid out pretty similarly for the other work streams as well. And I wanted to just call out a couple of training opportunities for you there. Occasionally someone will reach out with questions about how they can start to learn about Aggie Enterprise now, rather than waiting until it launches to get familiar with it. So we have two how-to videos here. These are short little videos, only a couple of minutes long, that are kind of a good place to start. The first is an overall video about how to navigate Oracle Aggie Enterprise overall. And the second is one that is a very important first step that you'll go to when you start into Aggie Enterprise, and that's setting up your requisition preferences. So if you want to take a look at those, I don't expect that you'll remember exactly how to do it come January, but they're there as resources when that time comes. We've also, as the other work streams have done, we've also created some job aids. These are all short articles that are housed in the Service Hub knowledge base. Some of you may be familiar with that area. It's at servicehub.ucdavis.edu, the same place where you probably track any requests you've made for different services. So inside there is a knowledge base, and each of these articles points to a job aid on how to do a specific task. So for example, I'm clicking on non-catalog purchasing, and there's just a little short article about how to do that. A couple of screenshots. And it's just an art. Well, this is a pretty long one actually, but it lays out exactly how you would go through that process. And so if you want to get a little bit of a look of how things work, you can just click in here. If you have questions about specific things, this is a great place right now to get an idea of how to do certain tasks. So there's job aids also for receiving accounts payable and supplier management. The ones above were regarding procurement. And then we have just recently released these a couple of videos that are a little longer, a little more traditional training videos. And there's this one, Introduction to Purchasing in Aggie Enterprise, obviously the best place to start. Catalog purchasing, non-catalog purchasing, requisition and purchase order amendments, and requisition and invoice approvers. So I encourage you, then in addition to that, we also have lots of different additional resources. This is where the recordings of our previous demos live. So if you missed any of those, and there's also some other information in there too. So everything has been placed onto this website that you might need to get started. So any questions about that? Good question. AggieEnterprise.ucdavis.edu. That is the place that you would, the landing page has all the modules, and then you would click on the supply chain one for information about our things. And then the last thing I have for you is, as Mike mentioned at the beginning of of today's session, we have been having little surveys at the end of each of these demonstrations to kind of get an idea of what we could do to help provide the information you need in addition to the demos, and how you're feeling about how things are looking, how they've changed since the last time. Some of you have been with us since the very beginning, while the demos were kind of demonstrating that Aggie Enterprise was still a work in progress. So as we've come to the end of this, I have one more survey that I'd asked for you. It's real quick to fill out. Obviously, this time we don't have the question about what would you like to see in a future demo, and Mike's going to explain that why that won't be necessary here in a few minutes. But I really appreciate everyone's feedback, and so I dropped the survey link into the chat.
All right, thank you, Crystal. Okay. Questions on the website, training rollout, how to access it? Should be an all-in-one spot now going forward. If you do stumble across some of the supply chain websites, they'll actually point you to this new website now. So we're trying to get the content off of our hosting and over to there. Okay. So the last main topic we were going to talk about today was the transition of these sessions. We have done, I think I said 8 of these now over this year. And we have often had, looks like we have 256 people on right now, which is fantastic. So we tend to get about 200 to 300 folks every month. I know a lot of you have come back over and over again. I think this has been very beneficial both for us and you all to have this open communication channel, see what's coming, really more normalize this new system rather than have to digest it all at once come January. Recognizing that we're pretty much at the end of the project configuration, rollout, and implementation phase, and we're kind of really just at the cusp of what we're calling our end user testing, which is going to start, somebody fact check me here, next week. I think it starts next week. Where the Aggie Enterprise solution will be open and available to effectively anybody on campus who wants to get in there and start playing around with it. We're going to transition these periods of time to more of a recurring office hours model, where we're going to have our team leads and representatives from each of the different procure-to-pay and inventory work streams available to you twice weekly. And I think what our schedule we're looking for right now is starting October 10th and through the holidays. We would be available on Mondays from 10 to 11:30 and on Wednesdays from 3 to 4:30. And these times will be put up on our website in some manner, and we'll put them out in our newsletters as we move along. But the idea of these office hours is not a presentation. It is not a training. It is literally, as you think of an academic office hour session, where if you are doing something and you have a question, you can pop in. People will be there to answer your question, and then in theory, you can pop out. There isn't a need to come and stare at a blank screen for an hour and a half. It is just the door is open, and you can come in and ask your question. For the most part, I'm actually asking my team members who are participating in this to continue doing their day jobs while these office hours are happening. And as somebody comes in the door, they can pause their day job and help answer your question and then go back to their work. So that will be twice weekly. Again, it will start on the 10th, and we will go Mondays from 10 to 11:30, Wednesdays from 3 to 4:30. I think that's kind of all I wanted to say on that. We'd love to see as many of you as possible get into the system starting in October with the end user testing. Start playing around with it, start seeing what you can do. I like to recommend the easiest way to test these kinds of systems is to do in parallel what you're doing in the current system. So if you have a requisition you had to go and create in Kuali that morning, in the afternoon, go and try and create it in Oracle and see what happens. I think that's a good way to test it so you don't have to invent something. Crystal has put in chat the ability to a link so you can add those office hours to your calendar. Thank you. And let's see. There was a question earlier. I'll go ahead and address that. Tracy had asked, is the DD process somewhere we can see? I think we did do a demo of that form at some point in the past. I think I see Mary nodding. We have a form available. Mary, you want to speak to that?
Sure, yeah. So Tracy, we have a PO form that you'll fill out. It is going to be handled pretty much the same way that the invoices are. So it'll get emailed to invoicing@ucdavis.edu when you click the submit button on the form. And we'll go to Carla's team to process internally or centralized. I think.
All right.
Yeah, maybe I could find the link to that form for you.
Yeah, throw that in chat when you can track that down. There's a question about UAT testers having access to Smartsheet. Oh, that's a fairly nuanced question. I'm not sure, but looks like Crystal's got it. New version of OPP to be demonstrated to users. That would be a question for the OPP team, not supply chain. So we don't manage or own or operate that system. That is managed by CAES, the College of Ag Environmental Sciences. So reach out to your department rep that manages your OPP instance and or CAES and ask them. I think, is that everything? Let's see, Tracy had a question earlier about the user guides. Did that get answered? Excellent, seeing some nodding there. Okay, well, we do have some time if there's any open-ended questions that folks want to ask. You don't need to feel constrained to what we've talked about today. Got access to a group, and if not, you are welcome to skedaddle. We very much appreciate your attention and your time, and we will see you at office hours in the future during the testing, and we greatly look forward to seeing you all in January.